Yamazumi style board. The board allows situations to be visible for everyone. At any time, a glance at the chart will give anyone an idea of the actual situation in relation to the standardized work. And the glance also suffices for determine the current workload as well as the portion of production that is backed up. Starts at the base of the column, and each block is shown by minutes taken. The aim is to show the operator process cycle times. It's visual. Workers can immediately and intuitively see where the delays are coming from. It's simple, and clarity is power. The Yamazumi board tells the story at a single glance. It's inescapable, and it's hanging right next to the production line.
So this is our visual operations board. It's basically a tool that's going to help us plan our wash loads in order to make most effective use of our washers when we're at a high run rate, for us 2.3 runs per week. What we did here is we figured out at 2.3 what our equipment needs would be, and then using that made a schedule. So these are the templates right here to show us on day 1, day 2, and day 3. Our IDC washer 7040, 7041, and then our girder washer and the equipment that has to be washed through the girder. Carboys, gaskets, IPC parts, that type of thing. And as you can see, each one of these spaces right here is basically, it's the time that's taken up by a cycle. So what we did is we have the time, the hours of the day going up the side here, and then it's blocked off. So during the day, we have to stagger our washers, so we have a minimal amount of downtime between cycles. And then this is between swing shift and day shift, this big gap in the morning. Now, using this information, we reflect that on this, using these magnets, which are cut out to the same size, roughly, of the cycle times. So that way, when another shift comes in, they're able to look at this, and the previous operators on the shift before, basically when you start a cycle, so for example here on day shift, on this specific day, day 1 of the process, we need to wash a 500 liter IBC. So what you would do is get the corresponding magnet. This says it needs to start at 5:45. So you reflect it here. And if it doesn't start at 45 or 5:45, at the best time to start that, you just put the magnet where it does start. So we'll say for the purpose of this that it was started on time at 5:45. Then the next load 2 that's needed on day 1 would be another 500 liter IBC. It takes a longer amount of time to wash because various reasons, but essentially it's a longer cycle. So it has to stagger a little bit. You can start about 5-10 minutes later, and then you just show it right there with the magnet. So as the day progresses, you use your template here to find out when these are done, the next IBCs that need to be washed in order to meet the demand for the waves that are going to be done out the following day or even 2 days in advance. And you just keep following this. Now for the next loads are 200-300 liter IBCs. So say we started this one, this blue spot is where we started on time. We'll say we got to start a little bit late for whatever reason. So we can see it's kind of eating up into this white time here. This one we get a delayed start. So anyhow, you just continue on with that, following your template. So as you go on, you can see visually where any waste has occurred. If we're finding we're not getting enough cycles done in a day, you can come back and look and find out, well, okay, we see that there's an error here. For whatever reason, we didn't get it started on time. As a result, we weren't able to get the next cycle started until later, and it just kind of keeps going on and on. And then this is day 2, which the equipment needs are different. This is day 3, the equipment needs This section over here is the Wiffy Loop sanitization day, and our washers will be down for a certain amount of time in the morning, so we can't run the washers during that time. So we kind of have to modify our schedule. So any day that there's, for us it's Tuesday, anytime there's a loop, there's a modified schedule. So if you're on day 2 of your equipment, and it happens to be a Tuesday, the Wiffy Sandy day, then you would use this schedule and reflect it right here. And then this third column here, we kind of talk about, this is for our glass washer, the curtain. And it's the white column, it's also white on these days. And we have magnets set up for all carboys, scoops, drum cones, choppers for the IBCs, miscellaneous gaskets, available load. So you just use whichever magnet corresponds with what this says. If everything's already gotten washed, then we'll just use a miscellaneous and we'll clean something that needs to be cleaned. So we don't stop washing just because we've already completed the tasks for the day. This over here is the prioritization sheet. We have 2 of them, and the basic idea behind this is that when there's a shift change from week to week, or from one end of the week to the other end of the week, you're not necessarily able to communicate what happened on the previous day, or even from swing shift to day shift. We don't see our swing shifts. They leave before we come in. So what you can do here, you have the date, and then you can just check box off the items that have been completed during that day. So it's kind of like a double check to this right here. Someone could look at this, but they could just as easily, if we watch the 2 500s, then you just check off your needs. I'm sorry, you just check off what you completed. And then the other shift can come in and look at that. And then this would be the following day. Yeah, I really messed that one up.
Nice.
Shared day. And then that would also be for the other end of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And because we wanted to have 2 so that each end of the week could keep track of their own and their day 1, day 2, day 3, that type of thing. So basically what would happen is a shift that is in, let's say today is day 1, you write today's day, and then this day 1 will line up with day 1 over here. So we've got 500 and 500, that's those, and then 300 and 300 liters, and then 50 liter and 50 liter, and that's it. So that completes day 1's IBC requirements, but we still have time. So it's whatever we have available. That way we don't have IBCs expiring, going dirty mold expired. And then you move on to the next day, day 2, you would pull all these magnets back off because swing shift the previous night would have finished loading it all the way up and then started the next cycle right after midnight, which would be down here. So when the day shift comes in, what they would find is empty here with 2 cycles already going. And they'd actually be finished by the time they come in. So we'd be on day 2, we'd be on day 2 here with the date. And so that beginning of the week would complete this schedule. And then that second half of the week would come in and they would be able to see where they're at because of what's already happened. And then pick up here on this one and continue 1, 2, 3. And then anything else that was done, this balance section at the bottom here, it's just other equipment that was washed that is not specifically on the schedule so that we don't have parts go dirty, mold, expired. This IBC assembly kit is something that we did in order to kind of set up our wash loads a little bit more so they're more efficient. We used to have problems where we would wash IBC parts but it would be a whole bunch of one type of part and none of another one that was needed. So we'd go put together clean IBCs, but we'd be missing butterfly valve caps, or we'd be missing small gaskets or various parts. So what we decided to do was we would basically make sure that we washed an even amount of parts for each IBC. So we have 5 pieces. So, yeah, 5 pieces that go into a kit. So we can fit 6 full kits in one IBC load, or I'm sorry, curtain load. When they come out the clean side, each one gets individually packaged as a complete kit, so that when it comes time to assemble a clean IBC, after it's cooled down, an operator just has to go pick up a kit and it has all the parts. It also cuts down on wasted time. Even when the parts were all washed and over there, we had a bin for every different type of part. So the operator would have to go through each bin and pull one of each part, while also making sure that it was the earliest to expire. And that took a lot of time to gather parts. Now, all the sorting is done when the washer is loaded on this side, which can be done by the operator while everything else is running. So there's no wasted time there. When it comes out on the clean side, those parts are just put into individual kits. No more wasted time. And it's a lot easier to gather your materials because you just need to grab one bag, open it up, and you're ready to go. So this is just an example for people. It has everything listed out, and we also have one on the clean side that's this exact same thing, so that people remember how to put the kit together. This side is basically what goes in to be washed, and this is how to make the kit. This is a best practices flowchart that we made. We're doing a lot of training right now. We're rotating people in and out of this area from other areas. So one of the things that we've noticed is there's a lot of inefficiencies with time management, because people aren't familiar enough with the areas when they start to know when they have a good amount of time to be able to take care of something else. So we basically decided to make our start point at the beginning of day shift. And the question we asked ourselves is, what does a person do first thing in the morning when they step into this room? And this is the dirty side of the washers. And so from there, we went through and we did a step-by-step analysis of what an operator does that's been working down here and how they manage their time. And then we used all that to make these steps. So basically we check our printers, the washers have to be unloaded, and then operator comes back around and starts to fill on these tanks, because it takes a long time for the whipping fill to happen. And for example, if you were to spend your time getting this up and going and not start that fill, well, once this is running, you're gonna have to go start the fill over there, and it's gonna take a lot of time. So the best thing to do is right when you come in, is just start the fill. It's gonna take 20 minutes for that to happen. During that 20 minutes, you can start with a wipe down for the curtain, you can prep a load for the curtain, prep a load for IBCs, you can fill out the cycle reports, put them away. There's any number of things that you can do. After you finish getting the curtain going, you can load up the first IBC washer, and you get that one started. Then you load up the second IBC washer, you get that started. And now once everything is loaded, the washers don't need you anymore because they're running. So that's the perfect time to set up the next loads, which is here. This is all loaded. So you set up the next loads. That way, the next operator that comes into the area, they don't have to spend a whole bunch of time getting the loads prepped. It's already set up. When it's empty, it goes right in, tank gets filled, it gets started, minimal waste of time. So we'll say that the operator already came in, they got everything running, all the loads are done for the next load. Now it's gonna be a good hour and a half until the operator is needed again. Well, that's a perfect time for people to go check for dirty IBCs, or go deliver charged IBCs to buffer prep, media prep, receive raw materials into the dispensary from the warehouse. And there's basically a question right here, is the wash cycle complete? If the wash cycle is not complete, then this is that area. IBC pickups, deliveries, wipe down. You just keep doing that. And if it is complete, then you go all the way back up to the beginning, check your cycle reports, make sure you have a successful cycle report, and then you start all over. So it's basically a time management tool, just to help people that are newer in the area be able to look and see what step they're at any given time and see what they're supposed to do next. You see right here, there's a limited amount of time, 5 to 10 minutes, so they know once they start at 70-40, it's going to be 5 to 10 minutes before they can start 70-41. So if there's something else that they have to do, that's a good time to take 10 minutes to do it and just make sure they come back to make sure that we can most effectively meet these schedules right here as they're created.